In this video today, I'd like to share my thoughts as to why I believe Dusty Depot will not return back to Dusty Divot, nor will it stay in its current form, but eventually becoming a place called Dusty Devastation. It'll be very similar to the 0-point explosion like you can see on screen, except there'll be more platforms, perhaps more bridges leading up that are floating, things like that. You might get the idea once you look in the 0-point explosion. Just imagine more land masses that are accessible via zero gravity. Not as extreme as the 0-point explosion, but just enough so we can get onto the platforms and battle it out in genuine Fortnite form. Currently this is only a theory, but there are parts here and there that make me suggest that it will happen. I will be showing you some tidbits here and there that make me believe this, but just keep in mind that this is a theory, none of this is confirmed, just all speculation at the moment. Now our first hint, if you will, you've probably come across this in game, is the slight shift on the minimap of the Meteor compared to where it is in game. And it's led a lot of us to suggest that it is moving, but we haven't necessarily seen it move yet, so it probably is moving at extremely low speeds. Now there's a few things I want to show in this clip. One, I want to show that the path that the Meteor looks like it's going to be taking will be hitting Dusty. I know I've heard some people suggest that it won't hit Dusty, it might hit somewhere else. A little too early to determine, but we will see in the coming weeks. The other thing I want you to notice is the sparkles. I want you to keep this in mind. I will elaborate on it in a little bit, but the sparkles I feel have more importance than meets the eye at the moment, and it can be one of two things. Like I said, I'll get to it in a minute. I want to start talking about rift beacons, because rift beacons might be what causes Dusty Devastation. Now, I wanted to bring up the rift beacons real quick because they just so happen to be being built in Dusty. Now, I don't have a clip here of the rift beacon actually being built here, but in the spacious unit at the very top of Dusty Depot, you can see that there's obviously some work going on here. In this clip, you can see a crate. There's obviously a robot arm up there. There is supposed to be two. I do have a clip of that. It'll be popping up in a minute. But in a video I watched, I believe it was Allier, they did show a rift beacon here, but when I went to go in to go see it, it was gone, and there just so happened to be a rift beacon at Mega Mall, suggesting that the main operation in development of rift beacons occur at Dusty Depot, and they're trying to distribute it across the Fortnite island. Now, the reason for the distribution of rift beacons is currently unknown, but I'm assuming a lot of us can create our own assumptions as to why. Perhaps it's to protect for the incoming explosion of the 0-point orb, or maybe the impact of the meteor and its force field, whatever that energy might be. I am currently unsure, but in due time we will see. Now, the sparkles I found very interesting since I started playing Season 10 here. I've noticed that it's not everywhere, and it's only in a select few areas that I've noticed at the moment. I've noticed that it's only at factories and primarily around Dusty Depot. Now, there's some spots here and there, like the truck behind me, the patch of trees, and even the truck with all the metal crates on it, though these areas have the sparkles around it. But say, for instance, around the Dusty Depot buildings, they don't have the sparkles around it. Maybe a truck, maybe a container, maybe a dumpster. I will show that later on in this clip that you're watching right now. As you currently see, I'm kind of just pointing to myself, showing where all the sparkle locations are, because like I said, they're not everywhere. And it makes me suggest one of two things. The first thing is that perhaps these sparkles are a temporal energy, and it is what's allowing the production of the rift beacons. It's a bit of a stretch, but it kind of makes me believe it in a way, but I believe more my second thought. The second thought, I believe the sparkles are supposed to represent pieces of the floating Dusty Devastation area. So say the metal crates inside the depot, or the units and the trucks, the dumpsters, perhaps even pieces of ground and building will be part of the floating pieces that we can climb on in the Dusty Devastation dome. So what would cause Dusty Devastation to happen if it were to happen? Now, if the sparkles turn out to be temporal energy like I suggested at first, then the meteorite's energy and the temporal energy will cause some sort of reaction similar to the 0 point explosion, just resulting in a bigger area in which we can play in. But if my other suggestion is true and the sparkles are supposed to represent areas that we will either access or see in the temporal dome of Dusty Devastation, then I suggest that the cause of Dusty Devastation will end up being from a rift beacon created by the people at Dusty Depot that is placed a little too late, and it will cause the sad demise of Dusty Depot, resulting in Dusty Devastation. I guess you could say that the rift beacon creators were out of time. Very coincidental, seeing how the Season 10 name at the bottom in the trailer is also out of time. Little coincidence. Not official, still a theory. Real quick before the video ends, I wanted to show you these spray paints that are possibly hinting towards locations returning or new locations debuting in this season. I don't know if this could just be mere coincidence, but Dusty Devastation just so happens to be in here too, so who knows? Thank you for watching this video. If you did end up watching the entire thing, I really appreciate it. It took me a while to make this. And if you have any questions, suggestions towards the theory, anything like that, leave them down in the comments or wherever you may see this video. I'm open to discussion on this because I firmly believe that this will happen. I can't see anything really replacing Dusty again. I mean, we could get Dusty Divot again, or we might just stay with Dusty Depot, but after seeing the spray paint and the I don't know what you want to call it, the sparkles, the temporal energy, whatever you will, the rift beacons, there's a lot suggesting that something will happen to Dusty, and it may not be something we're used to, it may be something completely different. Who knows? Leave your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching again. I'll see you guys out in the battlefield. Peace.